does it take for a city to explode? Justice had failed again. This time, Los Angeles erupted, not out of nowhere, but after years of neglect, abuse, and unheard voices. This is a story of how Los Angeles changed forever. To understand how we got here, we have to step back, before the smoke and the chaos. This is the Los Angeles many didn't see, divided by race and economic status, where the majority of people were struggling, and where police-community tensions stretched and stretched until they snapped. In 1991, two events occurred that were credited with directly causing the riots: the beating of Rodney King and the killing of Latasha Harlins. But the anger didn't begin there. The 1992 Los Angeles riots were a collection of civil disturbances and attacks in Los Angeles County from April 29th to May 3rd. Many homes and businesses were damaged, looted, or destroyed entirely. There were multiple people who played important roles in the riots. Rodney King, a black man arrested and beaten close to death after a high-speed police chase, making national news. This eventually caused protests, which later escalated into rioting. Latasha Harlins, a 15-year-old black girl who was shot and killed by Korean-American store owner Soon Ja-doo. This incident sparked outrage and greatly increased tensions between the Korean and black communities within Los Angeles. Reginald Denny, a white man who was beaten within an inch of his life during the first day of the LA riots. Daryl Gates, chief of the LAPD during the Los Angeles riots, and was unable to get the riots under control. In the following weeks, many people, including the mayor, called out his poor leadership, leading to his resignation. The four LAPD officers involved in the beating of Rodney King: Stacey Kuhn, Lawrence Powell, Timothy Wind, and Theodore Briseño. The dropping of the state charges led to a massive uproar in LA, leading to the riots. There were three main parts of LA that were affected. South Central LA. This was the epicenter of unrest, where lots of looting, arson, and violence occurred. Florence and Normandy intersection. The riots first started here, including the beating of Reginald Denny and large amounts of property damage. Koreatown. Numerous racially targeted gunfights led to residents arming themselves, leading to shootouts. Rodney King's beating. Just after midnight on April 3, 1991, Rodney King was pulled over after a high-speed police chase in Los Angeles County. He was pulled from his car and beaten nearly to death. The following is a video showing the beating. The tape went on national news, sparking outrage and anger across the country. Just 2 weeks later, 15-year-old Latasha Harlins attempted to buy a bottle of orange juice for $1.79 from the Korean-American Empire Liquor. Store owner Soon Ja-doo mistook Latasha for stealing and tried to grab her backpack. Latasha struck Doo twice in self-defense, knocking her to the ground, and tried to leave, but Doo got up and fired a revolver, hitting Latasha in the head and killing her instantly. The news, while not as well known as Rodney King's beating, deeply affected Latasha's community and exacerbated tensions between the Korean and black communities of Los Angeles. In both cases, the courts fell short in the eyes of the public. The four officers who beat Rodney King were tried in Simi Valley. Most of the jurors were white. All four officers were acquitted. For Latasha Harlins, her killer was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter, which carries a maximum sentence of 16 years, but the judge gave her no jail time, just probation and community service. To many, it proved what they already knew. Justice wasn't the same for everyone. Day 1 and Reginald Denny, April 29th, 1992. The verdicts were in. All four officers who beat Rodney King had been acquitted. As the news spread, Los Angeles started to erupt, its breaking point getting closer. Within hours, crowds formed at the intersection of Florence and Normandy, the start of what would become a citywide eruption. There, a truck driver named Reginald Denny was pulled from his vehicle by a group of men, beaten with a brick, kicked in the head, and almost killed, with live helicopters capturing the attack in real time. The violence shocked viewers across the nation, but for many in Los Angeles, it wasn't the beginning of lawlessness. It was the breaking point after years of injustice. By nightfall, the unrest had spread far beyond the intersection. Los Angeles was burning, and this was only the first day. In the days that followed, Los Angeles descended into chaos. Fires spread across entire blocks. Businesses were stripped bare. The skyline was choked with smoke. Thousands took to the streets, some in anger, some in desperation. What began as outrage transformed into a full-scale uprising. With the LAPD overwhelmed, the National Guard, Army, and Marine Corps were deployed. Curfews were issued. Still, the violence raged on. In Koreatown, residents took up arms to defend their livelihoods. With little to no police presence, they were left to protect themselves. By May 3rd, the violence had begun to die down, but the scars, both physical and emotional, would last far longer. Aftermath and impact. When the smoke finally cleared, Los Angeles looked like a war zone, and the numbers were overwhelming. Over 60 people were dead, thousands more were injured, and over 12,000 arrested. And there was more than $1 billion in damage from the 1,100 buildings that were destroyed. LAPD Chief Daryl Gates came under intense fire for his slow and inadequate response. Within months, he resigned, one of the many officials forced to reckon with failure. For many Angelenos, the destruction wasn't just physical, it was personal. Entire communities were left to pick up the pieces with little help. The city promised reforms. Some came, others faded, but the message from the streets had been made clear. Something had to change. The 1992 Los Angeles riots didn't come out of nowhere. They were decades in the making, and their impact still echoes today. Main causes. Cause number 1, racial tensions in Los Angeles. Tensions between Korean American store owners and African Americans had been growing for years, increasing dramatically after the killing of Latasha Harlins. Many black Angelenos felt racially profiled and unfairly mistreated by both businesses and law enforcement, facing daily discrimination, profiling, and disrespect. Cause number 2, police brutality and the beating of Rodney King. When the beating of Rodney King by 4 LAPD officers was caught on camera and aired nationwide, it unleashed outrage that spread across the country. However, the officers being acquitted was the real breaking point, which immediately led to civil unrest and uproar, with many seeing the trial as proof that justice didn't exist for everyone. Cause number 3, economic inequality and poverty in Los Angeles. Unemployment was high, especially in South Central LA, where Black and Latino families lived in poorly maintained neighborhoods. With few opportunities and a lack of money to do much of anything, frustration grew, beginning to lead to restlessness and anger. Cause number 4, institutional failure and LAPD mismanagement. The LAPD, under Chief Gates, had long been seen as untrustworthy and dismissive of issues within LA, especially when concerning racial profiling and excessive force. During the riots, the LAPD's slow response only continued to harbor the fact that the city's leadership hurt more than they helped. While all these causes are important factors in the riots, one is more important than the others: the racial tensions throughout all of Los Angeles. These tensions were growing for decades prior, with each new event adding more and more to the fire. Additionally, there was widespread belief that the LAPD targeted Black people and Latinos disproportionately, leading to resentment for the police department. Position and analysis. While the riots were terrible and devastated countless communities, they were inherently avoidable and could have been prevented if a few key things had been changed. Reason number 1. Improved relations between the police and different communities could have reduced tensions before they started. Chief Daryl Gates did not give any importance to community policing. He dismantled early community policing initiatives, focusing more on SWAT and other militarized tactics. The LAPD had not widely implemented community policing by the 1990s, missing crucial opportunities to build relationships with residents. Many parts of South Central LA felt abandoned due to systematic neglect, leading to a rise in tensions in many communities. The LAPD were seen as enemies in a way. Reason number 2. Holding officers accountable for their actions, especially through a different organization, would have led to less systematic injustice. Supporting facts. No immediate and/or significant disciplinary action was taken against the 4 officers who beat Rodney King, showing a lack of accountability. The jury's decision to acquit the officers despite video evidence of the beating led to many confrontations regarding racial bias within the justice system. There were many earlier reports from the 1980s and 1990s leading up to the riots that showed racial injustice in the LAPD. Reason number 3. Early warnings on civil unrest would have prompted preemptive actions to be taken and helped to have de-escalated tensions much sooner. Supporting facts. Prior to the verdict, many journalists and civil rights groups tried to warn city officials about potential unrest, but these warnings were mostly ignored. The LAPD was caught off guard with the protests and riots, and any action taken sooner would have greatly aided in the de-escalation of the riots. There was an absence of proactive public communication in the weeks before the verdict, missing an important time to help calm the public atmosphere. Conclusion. In today's world, in order to prevent anything like the LA riots, we should strive to increase community policing, as well as promoting equality for everyone, regardless of race. Additionally, law enforcers should be held accountable for their actions. Not everyone deserves to have lots of power in their control, and those who abuse it ought to be punished. Remember, the moment we stop demanding better is the moment history risks repeating itself.